ready to dig in. Today we're taking a deep dive into a field that's, well, more crucial than it might seem at first glance. Food safety specialists.
Definitely important.
You sent us some stuff from RoleCatcher, and it seems you're pretty curious about what these guardians of our food actually do. What do they actually do?
And you're right to be curious. It's not as simple as just, making sure someone rinsed the lettuce.
Right.
This is a whole system that makes sure everything you eat is safe.
So more than someone in a hairnet poking at a tomato.
Way more. Think of it like a web, okay?
Oh,
It
yeah.
stretches from farms to factories to, like, your favorite restaurant.
Right.
And the food safety specialist is like the spider in the middle, making sure, each part is strong and doing what it's supposed to do.
I like that.
They make sure all the food, all the products meet those strict regulations and that public health is protected at every step. Nobody wants food poisoning with their burger.
Right.
So that's where these specialists come in.
They're like the unsung heroes of like enjoying a meal and not worrying.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Exactly. They're working behind the scenes
Yes.
so you don't have to. But, and here's the thing, their office isn't just a lab or a factory,
Right.
Think restaurants, schools, hospitals, even those giant food processing plants.
Wow.
Anywhere food is handled, there's probably a food safety specialist there with their clipboard.
So are we talking about like a different type of specialist for each place? That seems like a lot.
It's more about the knowledge they have, not
Yeah.
so much about the place. It's the same core skills they know. The science, the regulations, and how to use those in different places. Like a detective uses the same skills, whether it's a murder or a missing person, right?
Right.
It's just a different situation, not different skills.
That makes sense. So what are those core skills then? Is it all test tubes and lab coats?
Well, there is some science, yeah,
Right.
but it's not all microscopes and stuff. These specialists need to know things, but also need people skills. They're looking at data, figuring out the regulations, and then they have to explain it to everybody. Factory workers, restaurant owners, everybody.
So they need to be good at communicating and working with people just as much as knowing the science.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
really interesting.
They're educators, they're communicators, sometimes even negotiators, all in one. They have to create a culture of food safety everywhere, and that takes a certain skill set.
So it's a lot more complicated than it seems.
Definitely.
We're just scratching the surface here, I bet. So it's not like you wake up one morning and you're a food safety superhero, right?
No.
How do people even get started in this kind of job?
Yeah, no phone booth for this job, sadly. The RoleCatcher stuff actually had a pretty clear path
Right.
from trainee to manager.
Yeah, those examples they had were really helpful, I thought. Like, I was picturing someone right out of school, maybe following around someone with experience, like a food safety apprentice, ha.
Yeah, that's the trainee stage.
Yeah.
It's all about learning, how to do inspections, maybe helping with an audit. They're learning the basics. And then you move up to coordinator, and that's where it gets, interesting.
Because you're not just following the rules, you're making them.
Exactly. You see the leadership skills come out more. They might design a whole system for a factory, do those internal audits, even train new people on how to do things right.
Yeah.
They're the ones who make sure everyone's doing things the food safety way.
What about those certifications you hear about sometimes, like HACCP?
Oh, yeah.
Do you need that right away, or is that for later?
HACCP, so it's hazard analysis and critical control points. And it totally changed how the food industry works. Did you know they first made that for NASA?
Really?
Yeah, to make sure the food astronauts ate in space was safe.
Wow.
High stakes. And now it's like the most important thing for managing food safety. And, well, you don't need it right when you start as a trainee, but it becomes pretty important as you move up, supervisor, manager, all that.
So supervisor is where those leadership skills really matter.
Totally.
More responsibility, more pressure, I'd imagine.
For sure. Because the coordinator is like leading the food safety band. The supervisor is making sure everyone's playing the right notes. They supervise teams, deal with budgets, maybe even work with, like, the government agencies and stuff. It's a big job.
So if the supervisor is keeping the band together, who's like the conductor at the top, the food safety manager?
Exactly. That's the top level they're thinking about, the whole strategy. Managing risks, making sure everyone's following all the rules, everything. Tough job, for sure, but also probably really rewarding.
Rewarding, but stressful too, I bet.
Oh, yeah.
When you're in charge of food safety, one mistake could, like, make a lot of people sick.
You got it. That pressure's definitely there, but that's why you always have to be learning in this field.
Right.
New rules pop up, science changes, technology's always changing things.
Speaking of technology, that's something I wanted to ask about.
Definitely.
It's not just clipboards and those thermometer things anymore.
Way.
What's tech doing for food safety specialists these days?
Remember that web thing we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Technologies like we're giving those spiders night vision and little drones.
Haha. Okay, that's a pretty good picture. But really, what kind of technology?
I'm talking sensors that track temperatures, like
Mhm.
right as it's happening. Systems that use data to, you know, predict problems before they even happen. Wow.
Like imagine a system says, hey, this batch of ingredients, it might grow bacteria because of where it came from and how it got here.
It's like, what do they call it? A crystal ball, but for food safety.
Exactly.
But with all this tech, do we even need people doing this job anymore?
That's the question, right? And right now the answer is yes. Technology is a tool, but just a tool. It can handle a lot of data and find those little warnings, but you need a human to understand it, connect it all, and make decisions based on, actual experience.
So we still need that human touch, that ability to look at the data, analyze it, make those big decisions.
Exactly.
Fascinating. So before we go too far, we were talking about technology in food safety.
Right, right.
It's not all, hairnets and clipboards these
Yeah,
days.
definitely not. Remember that web we were talking about?
Yeah, with the spider. Yeah. Technology is like we're giving those spiders like night vision goggles
Okay.
and little tiny drones.
Uh-huh. Okay, I like it. But seriously, what kind of technology are we talking about here?
I mean, it's everything. You've got sensors that are tracking temperatures in real time,
Okay.
and then these systems that take all that data and can like predict problems
Really?
before they even happen. Like imagine a system that's like, uh-oh, this batch of ingredients, higher risk of bacteria because of where it came from and how it got here.
Wow. So it's like, what's it called? A crystal ball?
Yeah,
But for food safety.
exactly.
But with all this like fancy tech, do we even need humans doing this job anymore?
That's what everyone's asking, right?
Right.
And for now, it's still a yes. Technology is awesome, but it's still just a tool. You can look at tons of data, find those little red flags, but you need a person, a human, to actually make sense of it all.
So it's that human element, right? To look at that data, understand it, and make those judgment calls.
Exactly. And that's where those maybe surprising skills come in, those ones from the RoleCatcher materials reading, critical thinking, all that.
Right.
Super important for these food safety folks because they have to deal with so much data now. They need to look at all this complicated stuff and figure out what it means, make good decisions under pressure, all that.
It makes sense, though, when you put it that way.
Yeah.
It's not just about the food. It's about understanding the technology and the data, too.
For sure. And then you got customer service.
Yeah.
You might not think that's important in a field that's all science and rules, but it's more important now than ever.
I was wondering about that. How does customer service even fit in with food safety?
It's all about talking to people, building trust, all that good stuff. Think about it. A food safety specialist has to tell a restaurant owner, sorry, got to shut this whole place down. Possible contamination,
Oh.
right? You got to be delicate, you got to be understanding, and you have to make it clear what's going on without, making it too complicated.
So you're saying they're like the bridge between the science and the people who need to know about it?
Exactly. And it's only going to get more important.
Right.
Our food systems are just getting bigger and more complicated.
It's true.
Someone's got to make sure the food is safe.
That's a lot to think about. But I guess if I had to sum up what we've learned, it's that being a food safety specialist is about way more than just making sure your food is cooked right.
Ha.
It's science, it's detective work, it's teaching people, it's protecting everyone.
Well said. It's a job that changes all the time. And one thing's for sure. Yeah. The future of food safety. It belongs to the people who get technology, but also get people.
That's a great place to wrap up, I think. If you're out there listening and this sounds interesting, well, there you have it.
There you go.
Food safety is more important than ever, and it's a career with a lot to offer.